The final weekend of pool games delivered some spectacular rugby, and a lot of statements were made this weekend. New Zealand versus Uruguay and France versus Italy were just two great examples of demolition jobs, if I were to be honest. New Zealand were putting together some vintage All Blacks rugby, and they just let the ball do the work. It went through their hands, and slowly but surely they picked apart Uruguay. The important thing to note, though, is that Uruguay has not been a pushover this whole World Cup, and that made the margin by which the All Blacks actually won this game a little bit more impressive. France were, however, at their very best in turning absolutely everything into a scoring opportunity in this game. They thrived on chaos, and their ability to turn um, that chaos into some, honestly, rugby poetry was just amazing to behold. On this weekend, it was Damian Penaud who was the poster child for French rugby. The right wing popped up on the left where he scored a try, or the opening one for the game. Then he had the cross kick to go and score, and I've got to give that assist to him for the fullback when they went to score. And he would clean out rucks, he would be all over the place. And that was just highlighting him. But there were a few other players that also did that type of work. So you could just see that they were enjoying their rugby. And that is something that is very, very difficult to stop when people just play with that joy. Wales versus Georgia was more of a business-like game, and Georgia played a lot more to the potential that you think they actually had in this tournament. It was good for them to actually see. Wales went about their business, and they were good value for money. They kept up the pressure. Just towards the end, things just started unraveling a bit and resulted in the 43-19 victory in the end. The England versus Samoa game was the first of the massive nail biters that we had this weekend, and it was beautiful to see exactly what Samoa did in that game. They actually showed that it wasn't just a tournament where Fiji was standing out in favor for the islands. Samoa also had enough to actually compete with the big boys, and they got a lot more positives from this. For England, there might be a few more questions than answers from this game. Yes, they were able to win ugly, and they full credit to them for the try saving tackle right at the death. You have to concentrate quite a bit, and you have to put in a lot of heart and effort to go and stop that try. But yep, for the rest of the tournament, Samoa wasn't that great. So if England were on the rise, they should have been able to put them away. And it just puts into perspective the victory that they had against Chile as well. That yes, they outclassed Chile, which should just be taken with a little bit of a pinch of salt. So they have something to worry about going into the quarterfinals. Now, Ireland versus Scotland, just wow, that was just something else, and it was something really to appreciate in terms of how Ireland played that game. But let's start with Scotland. So Scotland were absolutely massive in terms of the yards game. They were just running it all over the place. They were very creative. Finn Russell was brilliant in terms of his attacking prowess again. And they were putting up the meters. They had the position. They had the territory. But there was a lot smarter play actually just from Ireland overall, which could be seen in the scoreline. So the simple question is, did Scotland fall apart, or were Ireland just better? And plain and simple, Ireland were better. Ireland weren't just a little bit better, they were a lot better. Often in sports, people refer to getting into the zone. And when you're in that zone, there's a calmness and confidence that comes over you. The players, when they're in the zone, they just look like they have a little bit more time, they have a little bit more space, they have a little bit more vision. And if you have a look at Ireland, that is exactly where they're at. And that is something that is exceptionally difficult to take away. The 17-game win streak that they're on as well just compounds that. So how do you stop them? Anybody's guess. The Japan versus Argentina game was a great decider for Pool D, just to see who went through, and Argentina deserved it on the day. They've really been growing in stature since that early, very disappointing loss against England. But they don't look the complete package, and they need to do quite a bit of work in this next week to be competitive. However, the try by the Japanese lock, Amatu Fakatawa, must be seen as one of the tries of the tournament thus far. Going 50 meters with a little chip key, getting around a winger. You don't see that every day, but that was just beautiful. Tonga and Romania had a very good arm wrestle, and in the end, it was Tonga that came away with it. But the thing that I think allowed them both to play with a little bit more joy and just enjoy it was that there was no pressure on either of the two teams. They were just able to go out there and play rugby. And Tonga was good for the most of the game, and Romania was good quality for most of the game, and it was just an enjoyable game to watch. So good for both of them that they could end the tournament on this note. Then we get to the Fiji Portugal game. What an absolutely incredible story. With two of their players playing their very, very last games for Portugal, retiring after this, they were able to pick up their first ever Rugby World Cup win. And it wasn't just a win against a minor team or a smaller union, but it was against Fiji, one of the absolute rising stars at this World Cup. Portugal has been growing in popularity as a team at this World Cup. It was because they've been playing with such passion and been pitching up to games with only one mindset, is to be competitive and try and win those games. And if you have a look at how they played against Georgia and the game against the Wallabies, I would not have been shocked if there was a win in both of those games as well. So they are definitely on the rise. Portugal deserved this one. They were spectacular in every possible way, and I think most of them can't really walk properly today, but I don't think any of them care. That was their World Cup. Should Fiji be panicked? I don't think so. I think it would fuel them on and make them train a bit harder and make them focus a little more. And I think that's not bad in terms of what they'd need against England in the quarterfinals. If you have to look at losers of the round, I'm not giving that to anybody this week. I've just absolutely loved the World Cup so far. Then we go to the winners of the round, and based on what I just said, I have to just first start off and give this to every team that competed at this World Cup. There was passion, there was focus, and everybody tried their hearts out at the World Cup, and that you just love to see. Nobody pitched up to a game just making up the numbers. They were there to play, they were there to compete. You could see it with everybody putting in everything that they possibly could, and I've loved every second of that. However, my winning teams, starting from number 4 down to number 1 for this week, are firstly in the 4th position. That would be France. Creatively brilliant. They just punished the poor Italians in every possible way, and Italy just didn't stand a chance. 3rd place, I would put Samoa. Even though they lost, they won, in my opinion. They showed the wealth of talent that the island teams have, and how close they are to actually making that step up to the elite level. It also showed that their close game against Ireland in the warm-ups wasn't just luck. Even though it was an understrength Irish side, there's definitely something in the Samoan side, and I hope we get to see them play together as a squad quite a bit more in the next 4 years leading up to the next World Cup. 2nd place, Ireland. Any other week, this performance would have definitely put them in the top spot, and yeah, they were absolutely the best team in terms of skills and the game management that they had. To just label them as a wild-oiled machine almost feels like it is an understatement, to be honest. The class they showed was up there, and they were absolutely formidable. There's no getting around that. Team of the week, though, that definitely goes to Portugal, without a doubt. When you come to a World Cup, it's an honor playing for your country, and these guys really showed it. Uruguay also showed it in a great way, but Portugal embodied this in how they played their very, very last game at the World Cup. Everybody wants to compete. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to show why they are at the World Cup. And I can't imagine that there was a single bet actually on this planet that was in favor of Portugal when they faced the might of Fiji. Portugal, however, put on a display of creative running and try-scoring ability similar to the French over the weekend. On the other end, they put up a defensive effort that's been similar to what you've seen from Ireland and South Africa thus far in the World Cup. Bodies were put on the line in every single turn. And this was their World Cup final. And Portugal won their World Cup final.